Hey, Weirdlings. For the last 5 years, my husband Michael and I have talked about spending our anniversary trip in New Orleans, and we were blessed to be able to visit just 2 weeks ago. The trip and the recording of this episode happened before the recent hurricane, and Tori, Lindsey, and I debated on if we should even release it. But in the end, we love the city, and even more, we love its residents. And we wanted to be able to celebrate the people and places that make New Orleans so special. We had also planned an entire month of New Orleans themed true crime cases, and we have actually decided to move forward with the idea. But we would love to turn this into a fundraising opportunity for the people affected by the storm. For the month of September, all of our Patreon funds, including any new pledges, will be donated to a hurricane relief charity. Our Patreon tiers start at just $2 a month, and any amount given right now is going to help tons with the relief efforts. To see all of our Patreon tiers, go to patreon.com/threesacrime-podcast.
Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsay.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches.
Hello, Weirdlings!
Hi.
We have husband here.
Husband just
Sup?
rolled his eyes.
I wanted to tell you that I have made it halfway through Root of Evil.
Yeah.
I have been listening. How many episodes are there? 8? And I think I
think something like that.
I think
finished
8, yeah.
episode 5. I'm up there, man.
Yeah, it's
George Hodel definitely killed her.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
They definitely make a really, really strong
convincing
And
case.
so you've gotten to hear now Steve Hodel, who we connected back to Rodney Alcala because he worked on that case.
I forgot about that.
I did too. We got a new Patreon.
Yay!
Mandy is at our producer tier, our
She
$20 tier, which is so exciting.
Mandy is awesome. Mandy also donated a crate to me for my rescue. So thank you, Mandy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks.
We're back from New Orleans.
Yeah, you guys were gone. We had, it feels like it's been a really long time since we got together to record.
Yeah.
And
sure it's
it
only
really
been, like,
hasn't
2
been that
weeks,
long,
but-
but we're like, can't go more than a week without
It's been
seeing each
years
other,
without
apparently.
seeing you. So
Yep, it's been at least 5 years.
5 years.
So yes, you guys,
They went to fucking New Orleans and
They
we had to
did.
watch it.
they did.
They
They made
did.
Lindsay and I stay home. It was really rude.
It was very sad. They didn't want us to be a part of their anniversary.
I know, like, why? Why not?
It
Like,
makes me
why?
sad.
You know.
He should have, that second hotel with the 2 beds would have worked out well. We could have shared a twin bed and they could have shared a twin bed.
Those beds weren't big enough for one of us.
Did you guys end up sleeping in separate beds
Yeah.
that night?
They
Yeah.
were so small, and I actually had a nightmare that Michael left me and then woke up
to my husband not being in bed with me. And
Oh,
I was like,
no.
it was horrible. And so he had to come lay in bed with me in the morning because I was like, I had a weird dream. Also, we have Goldie Han Solo here, who is
Goldie Han Solo.
Tori's foster mama dog, and we introduced her and Mia, and they are basically obsessed with each other. So that's gonna be the noise you hear in the background. This feels weird because we haven't seen each other in such a long time. But we're gonna do kind of like a recap of our trip because we learned a lot of things on tours. And did you get garbage? You did, you little shit. Give me that. Thank you. Give me that. No, give me that. Okay, so Goldie just brought us some sour cream out of the recycling container.
Today's video is brought to you by Daisy Sour Cream. Just a dollop of Daisy.
Oh, get stop. Today's episode is also brought to you by Best Foods Mayonnaise. So Goldie's here, so there's going to be a lot of noise in the background.
Yeah.
But it's very cute
And
noise.
product placement.
Yeah.
Product placement. Any other like news? We have a YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel now.
So the vlog is not live, but it's going to be soon because I keep fucking it up.
We had talked about the Facebook page, having a Facebook page now.
We have a private Facebook group.
Which we launched a few weeks ago, and I think we mentioned it the last time we recorded, but there's no harm in mentioning it again.
Yeah, we have another one. And so everyone can be on it. Anyone who
Yeah,
listens
you
to our
can join it.
podcast, basically. Yeah. So it's a community for people to have.
Yeah, so you can talk
Conversations
about our
with each other.
episodes, ask us questions, that whole deal.
Tell us weird shit.
Now that they're back,
Yeah.
you guys are going to share with us and our audience all the cool and interesting things you learned going around
Without
NOLA, which is
Tori and Lindsay.
one
Without
of the most
us.
Yeah.
haunted cities.
Yes. I'm telling you, that orb that I caught.
Girl.
So tell us. Okay, so just maybe let's start with your first day.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
and
flew.
What you did. You flew.
We flew all day. But that night, we didn't do anything cool, but we ate a bunch of really good food. But
We did do that. Jerry at Desire Oyster Bar was incredible.
Oh, Jerry.
She was so nice.
They didn't have what I ordered, and so she brought us a plate of gumbo and told me not to tell anybody. And everybody there calls you baby.
Which
and...
then you went on a video.
Yeah, I know. I
Well,
actually, I know. I know exactly.
It was real good.
It was really good. We also got fried alligator and oysters and fried green tomatoes, and they were all amazing.
Fried alligator just tastes like popcorn.
Just
chicken.
tastes like chicken.
I had alligator once at a Cajun festival in Charleston.
Well, that'd
And-
be so cool to go to a Cajun festival.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't. All of New Orleans is a Cajun festival, so I think you guys got
Fair,
the better
fair,
end of the
fair,
deal.
fair.
But yeah, I felt like it tasted, but it tasted like drier.
Yeah, make it a little bit. I mean, you bread anything and fry it, it's gonna look like popcorn chicken. But
And
Yeah,
they
it's
serve
true.
it with sweet chili sauce.
that
which
was
is
pepper jelly.
pepper jelly. That's what it was, which is
Pepper
super
jelly.
yummy. And there was a mime outside of our restaurant that I kind of wish we would have talked to. And he was there for like 3 days, but he had a full on mime. And then he just sat outside the restaurant with an umbrella. And I think he was waiting for someone to talk to him. Because then the second day we went back and he just sat at a door flipping it off for like 2 hours. And he was just there. And people would.
He did because people would walk up to him and like try to interact, and he wouldn't budge.
He was just holding still, or he laid on the ground. He
Yeah.
just laid flat in the middle of the street and just
Which
like
is
hung
not
out
something
there.
I would do.
Was
that
he
No.
close to
mime, or
Market
was he
Street.
like one of those people
No.
that pretend to be statues?
He was a mime, like he was in normal clothing, but with a full
White
like
face.
white face.
Did
and
he do like the box thing?
no,
No, he just stood there.
he just came and brought his shit and just sat in a chair
my
in the middle
God.
of the
So maybe
street.
it was a living statue thing.
But
I don't
his
know.
face was painted like a mime. Living statue people are painted like silver.
Yeah. So when I was watching the vlog, because I saw when you were like, oh, there's a mime out there, and he had his umbrella like right
I just
here.
saw that suitcase. That's all I could.
Yeah, and I didn't know what the
Well,
fuck the suitcase was.
I wondered because there was when I was in San Francisco, there was a living statue guy, and every time I tried to get a picture of him, he'd put his, because they want you to pay him,
Right.
Because that's how they make their money.
Right,
So
right,
like,
right,
I
right.
get it, but yeah. So the only picture I have of the living statue guy is like this. Just see his jacket.
That's funny.
She's miming her sweater covering her face. That's what you're doing.
That's what
you're
Yeah,
doing.
You were.
Yeah, sometimes as I forget that we do a podcast, pull his jacket up to cover his face so I could not get a picture of him.
So that was our first day.
Yeah, that was pretty much all we did.
Was
We
the second day the
went to bed
tour
real
with
quick.
I need to like look at my
No,
calendar.
the second day we were supposed to go kayaking in the bayou with alligators, and that ended up getting canceled. So because our excursion was canceled, we're like, well, fuck, what do we do now?
We were really bummed out, honestly. Like, I was really upset because we paid for everything was like tours, and then we did the helicopter and the bayou, like kayaking with alligators, and those were the two I was most freaked out about, but that I really wanted to do. And then to see that one was canceled, we were like,
Now, when you guys were there, obviously there was a lot of torrential downpour. It is hurricane season. And is that why they were canceled? I mean, I know the
Something with
helicopter
the-
was maintenance, but was it weather related?
something with the dock. It said it was for dock maintenance. I don't know. And then like they could have rescheduled, but like it was sent in an email, and I was trying not to. I wasn't on Facebook or my email or anything, and I happened to check it, and they had sent something like 4 hours before saying it was canceled, and I was like, "Fuck."
Though I don't know that you want to like go on a tour where maintenance is the problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it is crappy that so many of your things got canceled.
We could have still gone, but we chose to, I don't know, do a bunch of other stuff. So that was like the only thing that we didn't get to do that we wanted to do. But that night was our boat tour. That's what we did that night.
Well, first, you like breezed right past the Museum of Death. One of the coolest things that we did all week.
Yeah, so
She's
tell
like,
us
yeah, that-
about that because I know you're not allowed to take pictures inside. So what
Yeah.
is it like inside?
The best thing I've ever seen. So fucking cool.
It was really cool. So like you walk in and it's just skeletons of animals, and there's like a human being eaten by an alligator.
Well, you first walk in and they have the like a gift shop, which is where we bought
like a
that
gallery.
thing. And they have a bunch of creepy shit in there, but then you go back through the curtain. and
Yeah, the
there's-
museum proper.
So they're in little sections. So the first part of the museum is skeletons. So there's an
Like
alligator.
taxidermied animals and
They had 2 taxidermied dogs, a taxidermied horse head. And then it was like a skeleton of an alligator eating a skeleton of a person, which was really cool. And then like mice skeleton, a cat.
That was the universe telling you guys the skeleton of the alligator eating the human.
Maybe that's
that it was okay that you
that we
weren't-
missed it.
Yeah.
they also
Didn't
had like
get
a
that
horse
tour.
skeleton trampling a person.
Yeah, it
That was
was
pretty brutal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So then the second section was autopsy stuff.
Mhm.
So they had like an original autopsy table, which had just a bunch of holes drilled in it, literally, so all your fucking insides would
Fluids,
just
yeah.
ooze out of the bottom.
Drain, yeah.
They had like a case of all the autopsy
Like old timey autopsy
tools.
Tools, yeah.
And then, like I told you guys,
Embalming pumps and
embalming stuff. Yeah, they had a video of like someone performing, not an autopsy, embalming.
stuff.
When I was in college, I took a death and dying class, and
I
we
would
had
love
the
that
option to
class.
go, and that was one of the classes. The option was to go and to watch somebody be embalmed.
Did you
and
do
I would
it?
go. Mhm.
No. Oh my god, I totally.
I
would.
don't. I'm not a huge fan of.
I got to touch dead bodies
Dead
for
bodies.
massage school. Yeah.
Did they make you massage the bodies?
No, but you could touch them. No, it was just to see how, the muscles connect and
The video that they were playing was, I stood there and watched it for a few minutes. Oh god, it just still gives me the heaves. It
Of
was
the
this,
embalming.
yeah, it was this old woman, and they had to make her look like she did before she died, right? So they put like plastic things in her eyes to make them look more pronounced because everything was kind of like flat on
Like
her
there's an
face.
actual
Yeah.
eyeball in there.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they had to put something like in her mouth to make her lips look more plump. But the part that I watched that really skeeved me out was they had to drain the blood, and they cut underneath the collarbone, and they were like digging, trying to find her artery. And I had never seen an artery before. They're like digging in, and they pulled it out, and it was like this thick. I didn't know arteries were like that thick. And then they had screens basically in every little section. And actually, was the section after the autopsy stuff all the serial killer?
No, it went into pictures of death where people whose children would pass away.
Babies had died. They
Oh.
would
Yeah,
like crop
like,
them
take
up.
picture.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. There was like that theater.
The theater
Yeah, there was.
was wild. It was a tiny tiny movie theater, and you could just go in and out as you wanted, but it just was like little like 30-second stories
It would
basically.
just talk about murders and then like show a bunch of the crime scene photos
And like there was one that
some of
Michael
it
was
didn't
like,
age well.
oh my God, they called someone Oriental. They said
Yeah.
they killed an Oriental girl. Michael goes, ooh.
Yeah.
We're like, ooh, okay, well, this hasn't been updated in a while. But there was a story of a guy who had like 40 wives and had killed all of them.
Yeah,
and
like
Michael,
25 of them.
yeah, he had killed half of them. And Michael and I were like, who is this? We've never heard this. We should talk about this on the podcast.
Yes.
And it shows they're all from like the
Billy Watson was his name.
black and white
Right.
photos and images and stuff. So
Yeah.
not super clear, but it was just all of them we hadn't heard of. But there was a video playing of famous serial killers. So when we walked in, they were talking about like Ted Bundy, and then they did
BTK was in there.
BTK.
Emily's favorite.
Oh my fucking
Ugh.
God. Literally, I'm walking through the museum. I'm like, I fucking hate BTK. I mean, everyone they were talking, and then they were talking about the Green River Killer, and I was like, oh my God, all the people that are literally on this video are from where we live. It's like
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer. Anyway, it had a video of all the famous serial killers, and then it also had a section for like 9/11.
Oh God.
I guess it was like a terrorist section basically,
Yeah.
because it had another screen that was showing 9/11 happen. And everything in the cases was like
It was a lot of like front page articles from
yeah.
right afterwards, like magazine spreads.
Yeah.
Did they have any paraphernalia in there?
That's what I was wondering. Like,
From
any...
like
Serial killers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not from 9/11 that I remember.
No, but they had like Jeffrey Dahmer wrote letters to people, and
Yeah,
the
they had
original
a-
letters are in the case.
They had a wall with like John Wayne Gacy's art.
Yeah.
That's what I was
letters.
thinking.
And Jeffrey
that
Dahmer's
just gave
art.
me
Yeah.
literal
Yeah.
chills.
And all I
down
could
my
think was, I
arms.
wish I could take pictures of these things because I wanted to show you guys because it was so cool. But there was in a huge frame, there was Charles Manson's prison uniform that he wore on death row.
How small is it?
It
Is
is
it,
not
like,
that small. It
No?
would look like a normal
I always
button
thought
up.
he
It was
was
like a button up blue shirt.
tiny, tiny man.
I think he is, but I mean his
Oh,
death
what?
row clothes were like baggy clothes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a denim button up shirt.
Yeah, they're not going to tailor your
That's
your
true.
prison outfit.
You can just go second door on the left is our tailor. Just bring it in on the side.
They did have weird stuff though, like the steering wheel from Charles Manson's
Yeah.
like dune buggy is one thing, but then it was like the leaf spring from a truck that was on the Tate farm.
Yep.
It was like weird stuff in some cases.
They had a coffee can of the dirt from Charles Manson's like
That ranch.
yeah.
Spawn Ranch.
Yeah,
Spawn
yeah.
Ranch.
They had a coffee can of like the dirt from there.
or like the underwear from some lady.
Oh,
Unless it
Eileen
was-
Warnos.
yeah.
They had
Oh.
Eileen
They had, like,
Warnos's
her
bra
underwear.
and panties that she
Oh my
wore
God.
on death row,
Oh my
like
God.
in
It's
a
like how
case.
much money do you think they paid for some of this stuff?
Well, because like basically when we were looking into the Museum of Death, it said like we have really fucked up shit. Like you know, like we're just the weirdest things that you could think of. Like I don't want to see someone's underwear, but I also kind of do want to see Eileen Warnos's
Well, yeah,
underwear.
it makes them human.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was wondering is if they had shrunken heads there.
Yes.
Because that has been such a big thing recently. Because they are actual
People.
human remains.
People. Yeah.
And so a lot of different places have actually been donating them back to their country of origin.
Human remains are like illegal to keep in the state of Louisiana.
Right.
So then when we went to the Museum of Death and I saw the shrunken heads, I kept reading to see if it said they were fake or anything. And they
Mhm.
looked pretty. I mean, they were shrunken heads. They were there.
Yeah, it was the very last section as you like exit the
Mhm.
museum
Yeah.
portion, and it was like a thing on like cannibalistic tribes, and they had a couple shrunken heads in there, and this really cool boar skull that was carved, like carved with really intricate designs. That was
Ooh.
really,
That
that was
was
actually really
funny.
neat.
Anyway, the Museum of Death was probably one of the coolest things ever. And it had like I had never seen photos of Sharon Tate.
Oh,
dead.
she was so gorgeous.
No, like dead. Like I didn't see
Oh.
those. And they had those photos. And I had never seen a dead pregnant woman before, and it was traumatizing. Like all the images and the thing. I mean, I loved it, but it was something. But that night we did the boat tour, though.
Yeah, the food was fine.
I loved the food. I thought it was amazing.
Oh, I laughed really hard when you guys were in the airport and you were like, "This salad looks heavenly,"
And it was
then you were
not
like,
heavenly.
It was not heavenly.
It was the worst fucking salad I've ever eaten in my entire life. It
It's
was
so
so.
I
You
mean,
guys,
it is
okay.
an airport salad.
I know,
But
I know
bet it was
that.
about $15-$17.
$17.99
Yeah.
for that salad.
For a pile of arugula and olive oil.
Remember, there was oatmeal in it.
It was
Oatmeal?
It was oats that turned into oatmeal after this.
Why would you put oats on my salad? It said they put like trail mix on the salad. So I was like, okay, like nuts and like dried berries. I love that on salad. It was literally like a packet of oatmeal.
Gross.
That's not the
Sounds
same thing.
fucking gross.
That was the worst meal we had the whole trip, and I shit green for 3 days. So the boat tour though was really cool.
It was a jazz dinner tour.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the
for
sunset was
reference.
beautiful and it was amazing.
Got a lot of really good pictures of like the skyline of the city and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
They were
really
beautiful.
I say we, Emily.
So then the next day was supposed to be the kayak tour. So I don't know what we did that day, but that night we had the History and Haunts carriage ride tour.
Oh, that must be the day that we went to the French market. Then.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
We didn't buy anything. So they have
we
the
bought this really cool pack, like a pack of cards.
Yeah, oh my god, I wanted to show Lindsay. That's right. We so the French market is like half like flea market and half like food and restaurants and that kind of thing. And in New Orleans you can walk anywhere with drinks. So we just went and walked around the French market. But it was a trading post for the Spanish when they first came.
Mhm.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, it started with a lot of slaves.
Yeah.
Actually started it.
Yeah.
And then the Spaniards actually turned it into an official market, and then when the French took over the city, it became the French market. They just kind of kept it going.
And it's an outdoor market, but it has a cover on it. It's like a full-on built, like, cool. It's really, really cool. And then Cafe du Monde is right on the end.
Question.
Yeah.
Where were you guys that you got that Eggs Benedict?
So, actually, it was called the Ruby Slipper. And mine was fried green tomatoes Benedict with like a shrimp hollandaise, and yours.
Yeah, yours had like black and white shrimp. I had what they call it, chicken St. Charles. So it was like a eggs Benedict with fried chicken on it.
That's
instead
what
of
it
ham.
was, yeah.
Every time, and even just thinking about it now, my mouth is, because Eggs Benedict, like that
It's
is
one of my
jam.
favorites,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I feel like I would go to New Orleans just to have
For those.
eggs. 'cause
Yeah,
look
they
so
were
good.
really good. The History and Haunts carriage ride tour.
Yeah, we did the carriage ride first.
Okay, so here's the other thing with our carriage ride. Let me just tell you some drama.
Oh God.
I was
Here
a
we go.
little mad. There were 2 times where I was really frustrated on the trip, and it was the kayak. It was
Kayak,
the
yep.
things that we had paid for that were not
I
taken
remember
care
those
of. And I was like,
messages.
I did these for 6 months, and they're fucking up. But they're fucking up. So we showed up to the carriage ride because our thing was at like 7. And they're like, well, we can't find your reservation. I'm like, well, look, it's here.
Yeah, here's the confirmation.
I'm like, this
and
is
everything.
like, and I had a little QR code, and I was like, look, I did it. He's like, when did you buy them yesterday? And I said, no, I bought them like 6 months ago. So this is it. And he's like, oh, actually, you were canceled for tonight, and we scheduled you yesterday.
Yeah, we had you rescheduled for yesterday.
And I was like,
and we're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
why
no, and-
didn't I get any
What is wrong with all
phone
these
calls
people?
or like
And
anything?
the other thing too is that who cancels a reservation and then reschedules
For the
that
day before?
for before the reservation?
Without
Yeah.
checking
Like,
for us, because that's the night we were on the dinner cruise. So we
right.
were on a boat
you
on
guys
a river.
wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because like we have paid for this and
Yeah.
we
you
couldn't
didn't
have gone
notify us.
yesterday. And yeah, they didn't. And I checked my email and my phone. They didn't notify us. And so then I had booked everything through a third party. So I had to go like stand over somewhere and call the place. And I was like, listen, I'm pretty pissed off about, first of all, the kayaking thing, which I know is not your fault. And it was like a dock situation. But now I show up here and like this is also canceled. Like I'm getting a little frustrated because I feel like I booked all this in advance and I'm getting fucked. We ended up having to go on the carriage ride and pay for it a second time because we really wanted to go.
Yeah.
And then the third party company and the carriage company had to talk to each other and then get back. I don't know. We still haven't even been refunded. So it was whatever. But the carriage ride itself was cool. And we were supposed to go on an hour one. But then we went on a half-hour one because
Everything was
that
sold
whole thing
out.
was such a hot mess.
Available, right?
Our horse's name was Frida. Big
Oh,
Frida.
Frida.
And
the driver was named Beta.
Beta was our driver.
Beta and Frita.
Beta and Frida, yeah. And she's the one that you guys see in that
I was gonna say
video
that
when we're
video.
going.
She's like, they're not even the oldest bar in the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lafitte's blacksmith bar. It used to be a blacksmith shop back in the day, and then they turned it into a bar. And yeah, they claim to be the oldest bar in the country, and
But
they're
it's
not
like
even
the
the oldest in the
oldest-
city. Oldest building.
Yeah, they're a bar in one of the oldest buildings in the country,
Yeah.
which is their real claim to fame. But they just say, no, we're the oldest bar,
Yeah.
which is not entirely accurate.
Yeah.
We
I
drank
love
so
when you
much.
were like, this is my second 32-ounce margarita in an hour.
So the next day we did that was the night that we met Colin and Courtney.
Yeah, so that was the murder.
2-hour
Murder tour.
sinister criminal intentions
you go.
murder tour.
Oh my
But
God,
since
that name.
since you've brought them up, why don't you tell us about them and
Yes.
what they do?
Okay, so Courtney and Colin. So Courtney has a podcast. So oh my God, wait, just hang on. The podcast is Courtney's, but Colin is on it, and Colin runs a YouTube channel and a TikTok called The Paranormal Files. He's like a full-on paranormal investigator. And then Courtney just started her own podcast, a true crime podcast. And her podcast is called Murder in America. I said Across America in the vlog, and that is wrong. I texted her to double check. But basically we had met for this tour, and they were the only other people on the tour. And like at first, honestly, I was like, oh, it's gonna be awkward. Because like it's just us and another couple and one tour guide.
Oh, that's who the other guy in the picture was.
Sean, the tour guide,
So
yeah.
I
Tour guide.
thought for some reason I was thinking that the three, it was like you two, and then those three were together as friends.
Sean was the tour
But
guide.
that makes sense.
So anyway, I kind of thought it was gonna be awkward, but then Sean was like, well, because Sean, the tour guide, was like, because it's a smaller group, is there anything specifically that you guys want to hear about? Because he's like, you know, I tell these stories every day, and there's like 100 different things. And I said, well, I want to hear about Lalaurie for sure. And I said, I have a podcast and I'm doing an episode on that. And he goes, oh my God, they have a podcast. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. And so we got started talking to them, and they're from Austin, Texas. They're engaged. They're getting married in January or February, I think. I can't remember. And Colin is like TikTok famous. Like full on, like
Yeah.
when I told you guys, they're like, oh my God, like tell us about your podcast. I'm all like, oh yeah, it's a true crime podcast. We have 14,000 listeners or whatever. And they asked how many downloads we had, and I said, oh, we just hit, I think we were at 13.8. And I said, oh my God, we just hit 13.8. And I was like, what are you guys at? Was it 70 or 700,000?
It was
700. Yeah.
They're like, they literally were like, oh, we just surpassed 700,000. And I was like, what? And she said that she was a nanny, I want to say, and she just quit her job to be a full-time podcaster. So
They're
go
both
listen.
adorable.
They're both
Yeah,
adorable.
they both are really cute.
Colin was on YouTube and TikTok, and then when he did his Conjuring episode, that's what blew it
That
up.
like blew it up. And I said, that's so funny that you say that, because we just did a whole Conjuring
Month.
segment. Yeah. And it just started a whole bunch of conversations, and we were like, I think I love you guys. This is so cool. And then afterwards we went to a bar, which was cool because Sean was off work basically.
Yeah, he was off
started
at that point,
drinking.
so he just kind of hung out.
And
with
he goes,
us.
yeah, if you guys want to come back, because you stop at bars on all the tours and get drinks. And the tour guide has some type of relationship with the bartender, obviously, and they choose their own bars that they go to. So we went back to a bar, and he had a drink and was like, if you guys want to stay, I can tell you more stories about haunted New Orleans. And we were like,
Fuck
absolutely,
yeah.
we will
God.
buy your drink. We had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah. What did we talk about? We did not go over the Axeman because Colin specifically asked not to, and also Sean hates covering the Axeman because everybody wants to learn
Wants to
about
hear
it.
about it.
But we did go to the Lalaurie house.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about the Italian mafia.
Oh, cool.
There were 3 that he covered, and I cannot for the life of me remember what the
So-
3rd one was.
So I was not aware that there was such a huge presence of Italians in New Orleans.
See, I didn't know that either.
I mean,
See-
I think French, you know.
Oh, yeah.
because it's so Cajun and
And we'll talk more about this, but the buildings are all Spanish, not French.
Yeah,
The
most of
French
them are
almost
Spanish.
have like no real foot in New Orleans
Yeah, they took
anymore.
it
Like it's
over.
all Spanish and
Other than like the language and the food, right? Because well, and isn't Creole is a mixture of French and
so what we learned is New Orleans is actually more of a Caribbean city than a southern city.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's
That
the
makes
northernmost Caribbean city.
right.
And they're like, we're not really the South. I mean, you're just kind of its own little place. Yeah, its own
little melting pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that there, like you said, there's Caribbean influences, but I thought that Creole was is Creole a mix between Caribbean and French, or is it Spanish and French?
What was it? So the Cajuns were the people that settled there originally and kicked out the indigenous people. They came down from Canada.
Yes.
So they settled in Canada, and then as they made their way south, they're like, hey, we need to populate this area.
Right,
So
they would give away land.
yeah,
and
the
stuff.
Acadians came down from Canada, and when they showed up, that's what it is. I think the Creoles were already there. It would be French Canadians because would have come down from the eastern side of Canada, and they were called Acadians. And when they came down, they were like, we're Acadian, but the people that were already there are like Cajuns.
Yeah, that's what it was. And so then
So-
Cajun became the word that you use. So, but that was what I was telling you earlier was the thing with the Axeman was there was something else that Sean said about him they thought the Axeman moved to California.
It had to have been the one from the next day because Sean didn't really want to cover the Axeman, but he was saying that the wife of one of the victims went to California and shot a guy to death and then swore that was the Axeman that killed her husband.
So they think he moved to California. There's so many.
Followed the rail line basically and just moved on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously, since the Axeman has never been found, there was the idea that he wasn't even a real person and he was like a ghost or like a being or whatever.
Like the Ripper.
Yeah.
Or it could have been like an Italian hitman.
Yeah.
That
taking out
was the
people for
one.
the mafia.
That was the one I think that clicked with me was that it sounded like hits. It sounded like but then who hit someone with a fucking axe? But
Unless you're sending a message.
Well, that's how they did their hits at the time was with an axe to
Oh.
send a message. So then
Oh.
my opinion is that somebody just glommed onto this thing, because there were a series of murders that were all fairly close to each other.
Right.
And then someone was like, oh, I know how I can.
well, the
Start a
other
viral
thing too
meme.
is
Yeah.
the
Jazz
note.
thing.
The note that the Axeman wrote to the police has never been proven that it was even from him.
Right.
It could have been from
Literally anybody.
anybody.
I just think of the guy from Coven House.
Yeah, American
That's all
Horror
I think
Story.
of when you talk about the Axeman.
And it's so funny because I do too.
actor.
And so every time I see that guy in anything else, I'm like, Axeman.
Yep, he always plays an asshole.
He does.
Axhole.
Oh, thank you. Oh boy.
No one likes puns, Emily.
Shut up. Anyway, that criminal tour was really cool. I
Tell
don't know.
us about Lalaurie just a little bit. Just
So
a little.
yeah, Lalaurie. So we obviously got a picture of the building with the creepy orb. I remember all the Nick Cage stuff.
Fuck yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
It's so
God
weird
bless.
that he bought and lived in that.
I know.
A
house.
weird ass mother.
I mean, I
He
know.
is
I
weird.
mean, I know he is, which is why you love him so much. Like now, that makes me want to talk to Nick Cage to be like, did anything weird happen when you lived there?
Yeah, because I think we heard about it and he didn't say anything weird happened. I don't think, right?
Yeah.
But Nick Cage had bought the house and then he went bankrupt.
So
For the
he
probably 8th time.
sold
There's
it,
a-
yeah.
apparently there's a curse on the house
Mhm.
that whoever owns it's going to have something catastrophic happen to them every 7 or 8 years, I think it was. And Nick Cage happened to only own the place for that amount of time before he went bankrupt and had
Yep.
to start selling everything, including his T-Rex skull.
My God, that man.
I mean,
and the
I guess he
things
gave
he's-
that back.
I
but-
think there's a Wikipedia with everything he's bought. It's like a castle. I remember the castle and the T-Rex.
Well, and he has the plot. He has the
Yeah,
plot
and his
in
burial
St.
plot,
Louis
yeah.
Cemetery. St.
That is
Louis
his.
Cemetery #1, which, by the way, is the same cemetery that Marie Laveau is buried in.
That's what I was like. This sounds like a familiar.
Yeah,
The mortician chick that I watch
Mhm.
on
YouTube.
YouTube did a whole thing in New Orleans about all of the the cemeteries and how they
Mhm.
were built because you couldn't
Can't bury.
bury.
Yeah.
So
If you
and
look in
then-
the helicopter footage, I should actually circle them. There's St. Louis Cemetery #1, which is where Nick Cage's burial plot is, and then there's two more.
Um,
And can we just mention that his burial plot is a fucking pyramid?
yeah, also that.
Like it's
course
not
it
like a
is.
mausoleum.
It's a pyramid. No,
Well, it is a mausoleum, but I mean,
it's a straight up pyramid.
It's a straight up pyramid.
But I got a bunch of the in the vlog too. I got footage of the above ground cemeteries. We wanted to go tour one, and we almost did. We really wanted to go to St. Louis #1 to see Marie Laveau's grave and the burial plot for Nick Cage, but they're closed due to COVID, so we could still like pay for a tour to go, but you couldn't go in.
Well, that's dumb.
Right,
Which
yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's
Do you just stand outside and the tour?
yeah. I mean, you just like
points to it.
And I
Maybe
was
you
like-
could just stand outside of it.
exactly.
Exactly.
But I was like, why is it closed to COVID? It's an outdoor. That seems
Well,
weird.
and it's not like the people in it are gonna get COVID.
I know exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking.
One of the things that I thought was really cool though about those above ground plots is that, at least from what her video had said, is that somebody would be in there, and then after they were just bones, they'd be like, and the bones would go down, and then they'd just put another body in there. It was one of the ways that because
Like recycled through plots, basically.
yeah, because they have a limited
Yeah.
amount of space, and I think there may have been, maybe it was the Spanish flu or some kind of plague or something had happened where, a lot of people died.
Right.
So they needed.
Oh, it was yellow fever.
There you go.
That's what they were telling us. Yellow fever caused everybody, because that got into the conversation about voodoo. That's how we learned about voodoo,
Mhm.
because I always mix up Madame Lollery and Marie Laveau.
Yeah.
Marie
Me too.
Laveau was considered like a voodoo queen because she was like,
And that's who What's Her Face played. In
Yeah, I
Coven,
think Kathy
right?
Bates was Laveau.
Was it?
'Cause
no,
Lollery
Kathy
Bates
Bates
was
was Lollery.
And then I think Laveau.
Whatever her name
Angela
is.
Bassett.
Yes, her.
Coven was a good season of American Horror Story.
That was a good
It
It wasn't my
season.
favorite, but it was a good one. And it had Stevie Nicks, and I'm like,
You can't go wrong.
I learned about the cemetery things in New Orleans from Queen of the Damned.
What's that?
Anne Rice.
Anne Rice. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Anne Rice owned the Lollery house.
Yeah.
oh, she did.
hmm
Yeah.
Somebody
Sure.
owns it as a vacation home.
But not anymore.
Isn't that weird?
Like, can you imagine having that kind of money? And I don't know that I would want a house for it. I mean,
Also,
it's-
some asshole was knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell.
Oh,
And I was like, don't fucking
that's-
do that.
Is that why you're not supposed to
so...
touch the door?
Well, you can touch the door, but they're
But
like,
don't be an
they're like,
asshole to
these
the-
are still people's home.
Oh,
Like,
this is
don't,
still somebody's
yeah,
house,
don't be a
like-
dick. And they have a ring doorbell, obviously. Why
Did
wouldn't
they?
you?
Did one of the tour guides tell him to knock it off?
He wasn't with the tour.
Oh.
He was just some dude.
The thing though that creeps me out about something like that is those homes, assuming that there is something there, having it sit empty
Yeah.
is not great for
No.
Well, and so
spirit activity.
I got that picture that night with Sean, and I didn't know that blue thing was even in it. I don't even think I looked at the picture. I just took it and like
Yeah.
sent it to you guys. And then Lindsay was like,
Uh,
"What the fuck is that thing?"
Well, I was
And
like, is this a
is there a
sconce?
light there?
Yeah, no.
But I was like,
'cause
there's
it
no
kind of-
other.
It did.
It looked kind of like a light.
Yeah.
But it was
But
no,
there's
and we went
nothing
back
else.
to the
And then when
house
you
and
look
it's
at
not
it, though,
there.
and like you blow it up, it really is. It made me laugh because it really is like in the shape of Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Oh, I thought
And
it was
it's
like a
green.
triangle to me.
It, but so was Slimer. I
That's
mean, he
true.
was like,
Oh, that's true.
and so I had a big laugh.
That was our nice lunch break. Thanks, Seamus's.
So good.
Where were we?
Okay, so you guys had told us about your carriage tour, the Museum of Death, and your Lollery tour. But what I want to hear about is the museum tour that you guys did that you just happened to find the day that a bunch of your shit was canceled.
Yes. So we were just walking around and we saw a sign that said haunted museum, kind of like they had another like gift shop in the front. And so we're like looking around, and a lot of the shops like this, like the haunted shops, were all very similar. There were like altars everywhere. You couldn't take pictures because it was all people. There was money everywhere too. People would put money on the altars and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Offerings, yeah.
It's sacred.
I'm sorry. This just made me laugh. There was I was looking at this, I don't know, article or something, but it was like the dogs that have gotten in trouble, so they're wearing the signs.
Yes.
And one dog, it was that the dog would sneak into the neighbor's house their Buddhist neighbors and eat the food that they put out for offerings to Buddha. It's like, I sneak into the Buddhist neighbors' house and eat their food offerings to Buddha.
That's amazing.
That's a smart dog. Because we're talking about ghosts.
Yeah.
Now the feedback is back. We haven't had any feedback this whole time until then.
The guy behind the counter was definitely on some kind of drug or super stoned, like to the point where like he almost couldn't function, but like he was really entertaining, and I was like upset we didn't get a picture, and I can't remember his name.
Michael.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
His name was Michael?
Mm-hmm.
He was uber. Well, I everyone that asked where we're from, I'd say, oh, we're from Washington. Have you ever been there? And they're always like, oh, I was in Seattle.
Yep.
And he said, oh, I had a boyfriend that lived in Seattle once. So I went, he goes, he lived in the Sound? What is, and I was like, oh, like Puget Sound. He's like, I don't know, I just said the Sound. He was just really cool. And he was telling us, there's an apartment upstairs. Go look at it, but we like something happened up there, but we're not gonna tell you until you walk through it.
And this one we could take pictures in.
Well, you could film the entire time, and they
Yeah.
had us being filmed the whole time.
I saw that.
Yeah, the picture of all the cameras.
Yeah.
Because he was telling us about all the spooky shit. Remember the video he showed us on his phone of them saying that guy saying Zachary? Because it was the Zach and Addie house, which I'll tell you guys all that in a second. But it was times he'd be like, we caught someone on camera where like you would see something or hear something, or someone would run out the door screaming, and you know, just like
Whoa.
crazy shit.
Fuck.
And so he's like, you guys want to go? We were like, fuck yeah, we want to go. And so we walked through, and they had altars everywhere, all over the place.
Now, is that apartment always open to the public, or no?
It's a museum now.
So
Oh, okay.
it's turned into, it's the upstairs of where this place is.
Got
You
it.
like go outside and then go into the museum, and the apartment is upstairs from the museum.
Got it.
Are the altars like, who are they for? Or who, do you know?
I
Or
don't
is it
really
just
know
random?
because every building we went in had
Different.
them.
Oh, okay.
And it was all of it just said like, don't touch. These are offerings to the dead, or like
Oh, okay.
offerings to.
But they also donated all the money.
They
to
donate
some
all the money
charity.
to a charity,
I don't
which is
remember
cool.
what charity, but
Because there were dollar bills, and people had put like cigarettes, joints, there was lots of money, like empty bottles, just like random shit. But there was tons of candles, and everywhere you could light a candle at an altar too, which was cool.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
And so we're looking through the museum, which is where you guys saw like going through the curtain, and there's like the little crystal ball table. That's where they
Mhm.
actually do readings.
Ugh.
And then the last room in the museum was the room, it had a big TV with all the cameras and the whole thing. And then the creepy doll in the wheelchair, and like the big
Hate it.
Ouija board rug, which was really, really cool.
Hate it.
And so they had the door to upstairs, and we went upstairs, and you open it, and there were the creepy fucking dolls. But you go upstairs, and it's just a living room, a tiny bit. I wouldn't even call it a kitchen. It's like enough room for a fridge and a
it
stove.
was like a kitchenette bathroom combo.
Yeah, and then you keep
Oh,
walking,
God.
and there's a bathroom. And again, at this point, we didn't even know what had happened. And the room with the dolls that you guys saw
Mhm.
is where they said like the most activity happens. They had like every kind of doll you could ever possibly think of. And
Because when I had it,
For fuck's sake, Tori.
literally, Tori.
Michael's so over us.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
god.
I just looked at him and he's like, "Oh my god, I just want to be done with this."
Literally
Shut
what
up.
his face was every time I was filming anything.
My favorite part of the video
My
was
face just doesn't change, you guys. This is my happy face, my angry face, excited face.
my favorite is when you were like,
Just
Emily,
is.
it's too early.
It's too early for your
I
shenanigans.
just died.
Oh my god, and that studded black backpack was.
Yeah.
So we went to the room and with all the dolls, and it was funny because I forgot about this and we should have filmed it, but I asked Michael to hold the door because I wanted to get a panoramic photo of all the dolls because there were also some behind me in the photo.
Like hanging on the door and stuff.
They were everywhere, and I was like, I have to shut the door so I can get the panorama, but like, don't you fucking don't let the door latch.
Yeah.
I am not about to be locked in here with some fucking
Haunted ass dolls.
haunted as fuck dolls, okay? And there were two
Uber drunk people.
Oh my god,
Oh
so drunk.
my god. Actually, the girl, did you see her grab the money off of the altar, off the offering table?
No, I didn't.
She goes, she literally starts going like this, and she goes, oh my god, is this for me? I'm broke as hell. I was like,
oh my god. That is some bad juju, my friend.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you shouldn't touch that. Like,
No.
also you're being filmed, and if they see you fucking doing that,
Yeah, you're gonna
a
get
joke,
stopped
you're gonna
with
get asked to leave. Yeah, I was like, don't shut this door because I want to get this picture. And that's how I got the one picture that I did get. And then you walk into the bathroom where we find out later Zach Bowen
Dismembered.
I almost said deleted. So anyway, we went back downstairs and he's telling us the story. And also the guy behind the counter was really animated.
Very.
While still acting really, really high. I don't really know how to explain
Maybe
it.
that's his natural state.
It might be. 'Cause I remember I really had to poop halfway through and I was not about to go in the bathroom that someone was dismembered in.
Was that like the actual bathroom for like the place for people to use?
No,
I
not the
don't
one
know if
upstairs.
you
The one
could
upstairs
use it.
doesn't work anymore.
Are you
Oh,
sure?
thank God.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Is the one upstairs doesn't work
He
anymore.
said
but
so many
downstairs
things.
is supposed to be the restroom, but also
But it has a
Bloody
mirror
Mary
and an
mirror.
altar in front of the mirror, and I was like, I'm not
that's
going
very
in there.
cute,
Nope.
man.
I can't do that.
It's Candyman, Bloody Mary. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I
Mm-mm.
could not imagine if the bathroom that you had to use
Was the one.
was the
someone
one
got-
that somebody
well,
was
and again,
dismembered
they
in.
didn't tell us.
Right,
So,
until you
and
come
I was
down.
just trying to find a place to take a shit, okay? And I was like, do I go up here? He told us that
Oh
this
my
is a haunted
God.
apartment. I don't think this
You
is
should
like
be
the people
recording this.
bathroom.
I would have died if you had taken a shit in that bathroom.
I almost
and then-
peed too. Like
And then you
I
wouldn't flush because it's not actually a working bathroom. I would love to see Emily explain that.
I would have just left. Like I would have been like, oh my god.
All right, bye.
Or been
Yeah,
like, so I
let's
went
go.
upstairs and there's a shit in that bathroom. Blaming it on the
But
drunk
they have
girl.
the fucking cameras, so they watch you walk.
Oh
in.
my god.
They
There's
watch you-
probably a camera in the bathroom too. Like,
yeah, like everything's being filmed there. He did have some pretty crazy stuff. There was somebody, they filmed somebody because they do like ghost hunts and stuff in that apartment and whatnot. And there was a guy like fucking with dowsing rods. Like he was being a
Oh.
dick, just like waving them back and forth. And in the video, you watch one of them just bend like fully 90 degrees.
90 degrees.
Holy shit!
It was.
Ugh.
But so the story of Zach Bowen and Addie Hall, I don't remember all the details. It'll probably be, it might be one that we do, but they're considered the last casualties of Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
Because basically, long story short, they were a young couple together. Everything was great. Hurricane Katrina hit, and then they basically lost everything, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right. And then they rallied and ended up living in that apartment after the hurricane as people started coming back and FEMA started pulling out. And then he got back into drugs and
Oh fuck!
dismembered his wife, girlfriend,
I think it
I think
was
they
his
were girlfriends.
girlfriend.
his partner with a penknife
Yes.
and a hacksaw in the bathtub. And think about a penknife. They're like this big.
Yeah.
So
Like that had to take some.
The,
Time.
getting
And
through
then
the
didn't they-
bone and the.
Didn't they find like body parts and stuff
Being
on the
cooked.
stove?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, because that's how he thought he would be able to like get rid of the body. It was so funny though, because Emily, messages us from New Orleans, and she's like, "Do you know the Zach Addy story?" And I was just like, "I know that name." And it was because it was a character. That was the character's name on Bones was Zach Addy.
Oh.
And then I was like, Zach Addy is not a real person.
Right.
What are you talking about? Like,
Emily's fucking
I know that it's
dumbass.
a
She's really into
character.
bones,
Yeah.
guys.
And then, really into bones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on one hand, I'm like, ooh, I would have been there. I totally would have gotten into that apartment.
Uh-huh.
But then there's another part of me that's like, ooh, that just feels kind of gross that you're like profiting and turning it into like kind of like a sideshow. I love that you wore socks with sandals
I know.
in New Orleans. You fucking nerd.
She's bringing the Pacific
You
Northwest.
know what?
Like, there is nothing that says white
God.
person
Yep.
more than socks.
I needed
saw
a
that and I was
fanny
like, God
pack.
Damn it.
Like a white person on vacation.
Yeah,
with-
like, I mean, 100%.
Your rose gold Birks
Yep.
with your blue socks. When did you do your reading?
Actually, that might have been that night.
it might have been. So I know
So-
we walked around for a while and
I think it was after that night. It was after a nighttime tour because we were walking back.
we were walking back and I mean it's Bourbon Street, so there's like everything to do. And I had kind of noticed tarot or card reading tables everywhere, but we hadn't stopped. And I was like, the lady actually that we went to, I went to her because I don't know, I just felt like I should go to her. And her name was Amari. And she was an older lady who
Came here from Egypt, didn't she?
came here from Egypt. And the
Ooh.
other tarot card guy that was kind of a couple feet away from her, his name was Michael. She said he and I have been here the longest, him just a little bit longer than me. And I paid $50, which I thought was worth it. And her cards looked used to shit, which is great. And they just literally have like a card table, and then they have like a candle and their cards and like maybe
all you
a
need,
flower
babe.
or something.
That's
Yeah, there's
awesome.
nothing there. And so I picked my cards. I can't remember how many I picked. I want to say 6. And she said I was a warrior in a past life. I'm trying to think of everything. God, it was after a tour, so we were definitely drunk. I was a warrior in a past life. She said, what's your sign? And I said Cancer. And she goes, you kind of seem like more of a Leo. And I was like, my friend Tori always tells me that. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I'm really not getting, no. And I can't remember everything that she said, but she was the sweetest thing ever. And then she made me hold a candle while I stood up, and she like touched my head, and she told me, oh God, you overthink things, and you have a tendency of like not just going with your gut, and you think about things too often. And she just literally went like right all the way down my body while I held this candle and said something about each part. And
She hit all the chakras.
she hit all, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's probably what she did. And she basically said I'm a bad bitch. And then she also said, she goes, you are supposed to have 3 children. And I said, excuse me? And she said, or be like nurturing to 3 different beings. They can be people, they can be animals. And I said, oh, my husband and I fostered puppies. And she's like, see? She goes, you're done. And I'm like, thank Christ, because I do not want kids. And she goes, I have 3 and I don't want them either. So she was super sweet, and she gave me a hug, and she kissed me on my cheek when we left. She was just super, super sweet. And I thought $50 was worth it. I felt very like,
I think that's
yeah. And she sounds, I get a good
me too. I got a
good
vibe.
feeling.
yeah, she just, I was like, I had to come to you. You called to me. So now, what day is it? Thursday?
Sure.
We were supposed to go on a helicopter tour, but it was canceled for maintenance. And it worked out because the day that we went, the skies were completely clear.
Mhm.
And the rest of the time was like super
so
rainy and
overcast,
overcasty. So on Thursday, we got tattoos. I think we just got up and we were going to go to the pharmacy museum that day, but that was the day that it had like torrential downpour while we were at Cafe Beignet.
Yeah.
And so they had a pharmacy museum that was like the other museum everyone said to go to. So that day we didn't go to the pharmacy museum because it ended up raining, but we went out to Prohibition where we got those cute pictures of ourselves, or that really drunk girl took of us. I mean, she asked me to take a picture of her and her friend, and then she's like, let me get one of you guys. And then it was like 4 videos of the ground. And I was like, okay.
Also, it was like 11 in the morning, and the music in there was so loud. I had
It looked
yell.
like it was nighttime.
Yeah.
Concert. It was like full on like disco club. It was super loud. And then we went to Electric Ladyland Tattoo and got our tattoos from Ashley. Was his name?
I think just Ash is what he preferred, but
Oh, he did a great job on our tattoos. Super awesome guy. He just drew mine on with a Sharpie, which I thought was cool. So after tattoos, we did the ghost tour with Ricardo. So we didn't have this one booked, but we had so many things like being switched, and we had time after our tattoos that we were like, okay, cool, let's go do another tour. And we hadn't learned anything about voodoo. So
fun.
it was a voodoo tour, and it was only for adults, which I loved.
Yeah.
I don't want any fucking kids on these tours,
Yeah,
okay?
do they have an age limit for the Museum of Death? Just out of curiosity.
if they
think
did,
that's
I
me.
didn't notice.
I
But it
think
was
you-
probably 18 plus.
I think I looked on the website and it said you had to be 18. Anyway, we did the adults only, and it was vampire voodoo
Ghost, Crime, Voodoo, and Vampire, adults only tour.
Jesus Christ.
And our tour guide was Ricardo, and this time our tour was much bigger. There was like 20 of us or something.
It was pretty
16
sizable.
or something.
15, I think, is what they sent us that group with.
And Ricardo was really cool. He was the one who was talking about Nick Cage, and he's like very animated. And I asked if he'd ever leave New Orleans because he seems like he loves talking about it. I was like, would you ever leave? He goes, oh, fuck, yes. He goes, I wouldn't be a tour guide wherever I go either. I was like, oh, okay. So you
He's
love
like,
your
if I ever
tour.
start a family, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, he's like, hell no, I don't want to stay here. We went to Lafitte Bar, which is the one that we went by in the carriage first. So we went to the Blacksmith Bar. It was one of the stops. And the thing that we learned about voodoo, which I thought was so cool, is that Hollywood has made it what we think it is. And
Hollywood
it's
and racism.
totally not that at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of Marie Laveau was that when yellow fever was prominent, he gave us the example of like when you have a headache, there's an extract in willow bark that's also in aspirin. So like back then they'd say, oh fuck, you have a headache, we're gonna give you willow bark. And so when Marie Laveau did that, they saw it as some weird witchy
witchcraft
medicine whatever.
medicine woman.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where that came about. And then when they would keep track of the different like ailments people had, they had like little dolls and they would put colored pins in. Like if you had a headache, they'd put like a red pin in your head and like
It's like your
tracking
3D chart.
system. Yeah, it's like a chart
Yeah,
with the
'cause
real person.
He
a
was
real
saying
little thing.
that especially like yellow fever and stuff wiped out so many of the white people in the city that Haitians, they would bring in people from Haiti and the Dominican Republic who are used to dealing with yellow fever, and they also have a lot of natural remedies for stuff, but they don't necessarily know how to read and write because a lot of them were slaves.
Right.
So that's the voodoo doll was a medical chart.
Mhm.
So they would pin willow bark to the head of it.
That makes
And
sense.
what I thought was interesting was when we went to all the shops that I couldn't take pictures inside, every single voodoo doll was for something positive. It was passion or love or
Protection,
money,
wealth,
protection, wealth. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say was that tour with Ricardo was where we went to the Congo Park, Congo Circle,
Congo Square.
Square. I was close. In the park, they had a spot in the park called Congo Square.
When slavery was still legal, the United States, as it existed at the time, stated that even slaves were required one day to do their own thing, practice their own religious beliefs, get together and have their own markets and stuff. And that was the only spot in New Orleans that they were allowed to do that.
On Sundays
and
only.
they started calling it Congo Square because white people have always been racist.
Yeah.
And so that was the one area of the city that they were allowed to get together and do whatever. So literally whatever they wanted to do, that was like the one area that they could do it.
Well, and so the other thing to add on to that they were saying was the park that Congo Square had all these giant, beautiful oak trees that I took pictures of that also had that weird little thingy in it. And those were the trees that they hanged the slaves from. And then there was like politicians and people in power are the ones who came and like shot at the bodies as they were like hanging there for a few days. Very Handmaid's Tale-esque.
Yeah, there was another time they put I think it was a jail at one point, and something happened that they imprisoned a bunch of Italians. And for a long time in our history, Italians were not considered white people.
Right.
Nor
were the Irish.
Yeah, the Irish. I mean, Catholics were all outcasts. It's weird what people consider white.
Yeah.
But they went I don't remember exactly what happened, but they went into the jailhouse and executed every Italian that they could find in the jailhouse, and they were some of the people that they hung from those trees also, and just left there for a long time. Yeah, it real messed up. We went to the Saint Germain house, the Vampire of Saint Germain, which that
It's
was
not
actually
a proven story,
Yeah,
which I didn't know.
It was a neat story though. Just a centric guy who really liked his own, like partying it up and doing his own thing, and
Yeah.
a lady flung herself out of a window and broke her leg, and then was like, "Yeah, he tried biting me," and like he coaxed me into his house, and I don't remember how I got there. And when I woke up, he was like trying to drink my blood. And then when police went to go investigate, he was gone and all of his stuff wasn't there. Like he just bounced over the course of an evening.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
But he left like his own personal wine that he was the only one allowed to drink
Oh.
there. And the cops were like, well, fuck, hell yeah, let's party it up, bitches. And when they went to pop one, they accidentally dropped it. And then it was like super viscous and thick. And when they say when they tested it, which this is like 17 or 1800s, so I don't know how good this test was.
Somebody licked it.
Yeah, what they're like, maybe. It's salty.
Dipped a finger.
But they said when they tested it, it was like 85% human blood or something like that,
Oh my
mixed with
God.
red wine to make it thin enough to look like wine.
I forgot about that.
So it's really just like a series of, it almost sounds like a game of telephone. Like,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
kind of weird, turns into fucking vampire, man.
Yeah.
But it was like the house is really cool, and the window that
It's
the
a
ladies,
beautiful house.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. And the guy that bought it in like 2006 couldn't figure out why people kept showing up to take pictures of it. And he's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
That's right.
That was that was my favorite stop. Actually, was just hearing about that guy
Mm-hmm.
who may not even exist. Who knows?
It's true. Yeah.
They can't. They don't know.
If you guys have to watch Dark Tourist, have you ever
Oh,
watched
yes.
that?
I keep forgetting.
Yeah, you got to watch it. But there's an episode on New Orleans, and there's a Fang Smith. He's on Bourbon Street. We didn't go see him. I mean, that was the place where it was $200 fangs. He is an actual vampire, and apparently, actual blood drinking vampires do it from the back, like cut into like your shoulder because there's like a vein back there or something, and suck it out. That's some trivia for you.
That's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you're into, as long as you're consenting adults, I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck. Not my jam.
Yeah.
I
Whatever
can't
you wanna
even
do.
if I get a cut on my finger, I
Yeah,
can't
like,
suck
and
on
you-
it.
Yeah,
It
it's
grosses
too-
me out.
Friday was the food tour.
We did a food and cocktail tour, which is the one where I thought I was dying, which was a huge bummer because I don't remember half the shit that we heard because I was thinking about if I needed to go back to the hotel because I thought I was dying. But we went to 7 places in 4 hours, which was wild. And you would go to each place and have a little bowl of something and a drink. And so the first place we went to Redfish Grill, which everyone said was great, and they brought us gumbo. We learned the history of gumbo and
It
like how it
was
came to be.
Alligator and chicken
And andouille
andouille
sausage.
and bay shrimp gumbo.
It was the best gumbo that we had the entire time.
It's so good.
I don't remember like the history behind it specifically. I remember there was a reason that there's rice in a lot of Cajun cooking.
Because they can't grow potatoes and a lot of grains because they're on swampland, so
That's
they can't
right.
grow root vegetables.
Right.
So
That's why there's
they do a lot
always
of rice that grows in water,
Mhm.
so it's easy to grow there. So even their bread is made with rice flour instead of wheat flour because it's so hard to grow wheat.
That place
Right.
had fresh French bread and like like fresh whipped butter.
Oh God.
Oh my god, it was really good.
It was really good.
And we had what was the drink?
It was a
we had
Category
there?
5 hurricane.
A Category 5 hurricane was the drink, and we learned
Well, the categories are like how much or how many
Alcohol.
different rums are in it.
Oh, got it.
So the Category 5 has all of them basically.
Oh, that
It
makes
does,
me wanna
but it's so much fruit
try.
juice and grenadine that you
Oh,
don't
that's
taste the
right.
rum.
true. I can't do rum though.
But it was a white and a dark rum, something else, and then like a Bacardi 151 float. And then, of course, the pineapple juice and the grenadine.
Malibu
My-
makes the cops come.
So when you said the rum 151, so years and years and years ago, long before I was born, my mom and my grandmother went to Jamaica, and when they got there, there had been a big storm, so like the power in the hotel was out, and so they couldn't check in, and so they had told my mom and my grandmother to go to like their little, club area, and so they came and they got a free cocktail while they were waiting for their room. And then they had called them like, okay, your room is ready. And my grandmother pops up, and my mom, who weighed like 100 pounds at the time, she's like, I can't move. And my grandmother was like, oh my God, Bobby, like, get it together. Come on, let's go. They're calling us. And my mom was like, I can't move. And then the one guy, some waiter comes by and he's like, rum 151, too strong for little lady. And so whenever I hear rum 151, it makes me think of that.
That's
Rum
amazing.
151, too strong for little lady.
Too strong for little lady.
When they invented the hurricane, it was super hard to get alcohol out of Europe, which is largely where like whiskey and a lot of your vodkas and brandy and stuff came from. So when the liquor distributors when you called to order a case of whiskey, they'd be like, I'm only going to sell this to you if you take like 10 cases of rum. Because rum is a byproduct of sugar and molasses refining, which was a huge business because sugar was really hard to come by in this time. So they had all this rum, and they're like, if you want to buy a case of whiskey, you have to buy all this rum.
I feel like they did that in Peaky Blinders.
It takes place during a lot of the same time period.
Got it.
Oh.
So they're like, well, fuck, we've got rum stacked to the ceiling, and we can't sell it, so let's do something to get rid of this stuff. Because rum is a sweet alcohol, as far as alcohols can be considered. So people didn't want to drink it like they do whiskey and brandy. They're like, well, shit, we've got all this rum, we've got all this pineapple juice, throw them together, mix a little bit of grenadine in there to give it some color, and that's where the hurricane came from. Because the glass they served it in was kind of the same shape as like the hurricane lamps. You know, hurricane comes through, knocks out all your power and your oil. Light up your hurricane lamp because it's shaped in such a manner that the
by
wind
the way,
won't just blow it out.
Like 70% of all hurricane lamps are made in New Orleans.
Natural gas lamps.
Whatever.
It's like are made in like just one
Details.
shop in New Orleans.
I love that the historian, like, you're like, I'm kind of, and Michael's like, I got it.
This
So,
is
in
literally why I was
1853,
I know. I need you to just really. I can tell you what we did. I can't tell you any like details of it.
Super tasty though. Way better than those hurricane slushy bullshit
it
that we
was
kept
really
drinking.
weird.
Second place was
Pralines?
we did get pralines, which I was not. I'm not a sweets person, so they
No.
were too much for
no,
me.
and they are very, I mean, that is straight
Sugar. It just
But
tastes like a handful of
It's
frosting.
it's
or
caramel
something.
and nuts, basically. We did do pralines at Leah's Pralines, which has been in their family for like 4 generations at this point, which is cool.
We got to taste bacon flavored pralines, which were really, really good. That was what I was gonna say. Was we had met this other group, and I knew I fell in love with them because we were the first ones at the food and cocktail tour, and then this guy walks in and he goes, "Hello, my name is Anastasia Beaverhausen," and I was like, "I love you," and he's like, "Thank you."
He's like, that's just my alias, though. You
He's
can
like,
call
my
me
name is Kyle. And I just fell in love with him, and I feel so bad because I cannot remember his best friend's name. This is also the point where I was starting to not feel good.
I think
Okay,
it
this was
I
like
think it was Kaylee.
yeah, and so her and Kyle were best friends, and then Kaylee's other best friend came with her boyfriend. But we just fell in love with him, and then everywhere we went, they saved us seats at the tables, which was really cute. So I did get Kyle's phone number. He's super badass. I wish we would have gotten a picture with him. We had alligator sausage and seafood gumbo with freshly baked French bread and homemade butter. And then we went to Pepper Palace where you tried the very hot sauce.
Yeah, that was the hot sauce place.
Oh yeah, and then we also got a free bottle of hot sauce, which was cool. After Leah's, we went to the Napoleon House.
The Napoleon House. Okay, that's
Where
where
we
had
had
the muffaletta and the Pim's Cup.
in the Pim's Cup. And they took us upstairs in the Napoleon House, which is now a venue. Someone was actually setting up for a wedding when we were there. And it was a house built for Napoleon.
Yeah, so some the people that were running the French colony in the Louisiana area, which I didn't know the Louisiana Purchase was sold twice. It was sold to the Spanish the first time because the French were in debt to the Spaniards, and then eventually to the Americans when it became part of America now. So these two guys, they were like, oh, after Napoleon lost at Waterloo and he was exiled to the Mediterranean, they're like, we're just gonna go get him. But apparently they didn't say anything. They were just like, they contracted with some pirates. They were like, just go to his island, pick him up, bring him back here, and we'll rebuild the French Empire from New Orleans. And then
This sounds like a solid plan.
yeah. So they had this huge house built with this great big copper rotunda on top, which is green now because that's what copper does when it's
Right.
exposed. It looked really cool. But then as the pirate is like leaving the Gulf of Mexico, they got news that Napoleon had died. So they're like, well, there goes that, I guess. But the house
No more French Empire.
the house is gorgeous. beautiful house. It's been restored, and like all the fixtures and stuff in there are period accurate to when the house was built.
No. They said they were all original. They hadn't been touched.
No, that was
I'm positive. I remember this. I specifically remember this part. That part I remember.
Right.
Listen,
Maybe
how many
the
more
only
times can
thing
I
she
say
remembers
remember?
from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
But
also
that's
remember I
remembers.
was really dying at this point. That's really how I gauge where I was at. And I'm looking at the fireplace because Kyle was standing next to me.
Were you
and
thinking about whether or not you could take a shit?
I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
you guys literally
I know there's a wedding about to go.
I don't know how I rallied because but the thing was I didn't need to poop. It was right under my sternum. I don't know what
I
it
think
was.
you were having like a gallbladder kind of attack.
Anyway, it was beautiful. It was incredibly beautiful, and they were setting up for a wedding, and like I would absolutely have a wedding there. It was just really, really pretty. And then we had a muffaletta, which was created in New Orleans by a Sicilian family because the Sicilians were very prominent at this time, and they began Central Grocer, which is right by the French Market. And Central Grocer is still like a running grocery store. They sell cheeses and meats. And then, have you guys ever had a muffaletta? It's a round French bread with sesame seeds,
Italian
and then
bread.
sorry, God, Italian bread with sesame seeds.
Sicilians weren't eating a lot of French bread.
And then like an olive tapenade, and then it has the traditional one has like salami, mortadella, and one more kind of salami meat, and then provolone. And then you put it in the fridge and put like a pan on top of it so it
Right.
smushes down. But it's all shelf stable, like it's a cured meat sandwich.
Mhm.
So it can be out for up to 12 hours. So we just put it in our suitcase and took it home. But we also went to the Napoleon House and tasted one. But we also got to taste like the original muffaletta. I like the original better than the Napoleon House.
So do
one.
I. The one at the Napoleon House had,
It was hot.
yeah, it had pastrami instead of mortadella, I think.
Yeah. And it was
and
melted
Swiss
cheese.
also. And
Yeah.
it was warmed up a little bit.
And
like,
then
it was
the olive
good.
tapenade had like chickpeas and
Yeah,
some other
chickpeas
stuff
and
in it.
yeah,
They're trying to get fancy with it.
it was good.
It was good. Yeah,
but
I
I
just
do prefer the original.
I like how
myself.
simple the other one is.
The Pim's Cup was good.
The Pim's Cup was really good.
A couple people at our table didn't like it because it's got an herbal liqueur in it.
Yeah, it's very herbal, but it's a very Britishy
Right.
thing.
Right.
Like we had when I was there, one of the places that I worked was at the Bath and Body Works,
Mhm.
not the body shop. Lies. It was the body shop. But
Sponsor
we
us.
were running some kind of like, I don't know, like open housey kind of thing. And so we were serving Pim's Cup as people would come in.
Do you remember
And-
the history of the Pim's Cup at all? At this point, because there were so many of us, they were having to split us up between the tables, and we only had one tour guide. So he would kind of have to like tell the story to one person and then go to another table and tell it, and it's loud. And okay, so after the muffaletta and Pim's Cup, we went to Dickie Brennan's tableau.
Dickie Brennan.
This was the cool one because this was the one where we got those fancy ass champagne cocktails.
Yeah, the French 75.
French 75.
Ooh.
Which we got a picture of. A
Sounds
combo of
lovely.
fresh lemon, brandy, or gin, and bubbles. That building was really cool. I sat in the bathroom at that place because I thought I was gonna die.
That place actually was at one point owned by the theater next door, Le Petit Theater. And the room we were in, so the building itself was demolished at one point because it fell into disrepair, and the theater owned it for a long time. And the room that we were in when the building was original was actually like the green room for the cast. So that's where they would get into costume, change, or do their makeup, and just get ready
Cool.
for their performance. And then when they demolished the building, they were like, let's rebuild it as close to accurate as we possibly can. And that's the one I was thinking of, where everything in there was
Oh.
as accurate to the time or to when the house was original as
That's
possible.
right. I remember
Right.
that now too.
And that
That was a
room,
cool room.
yeah, like all the
building.
wallpaper and stuff was as close as they could get to original.
Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah, that was really cool.
One thing that I
The
like
drink was
about
good too.
Yeah.
about those sorts of areas, and in Charleston they have Rainbow Row, which is a set of historic houses. And even when I went to the College of Charleston, how they are houses, but like where all of the professors would have their offices were in these old houses. And the historical societies there are like, you cannot paint, you have to paint the exact same color.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they have to use the same materials. So
Mm-hmm.
my friend Michelle, my best friend from home, her dad owns a lot of historic property in our hometown, and like the roofs, roofs. Anyway, the part that goes over the top of the house is made out of slate, and they were telling him that he had to use slate
Oh
to
my God.
redo the parts
Roof.
that cover the top of the house.
The pointy
in order
thing
to
at the
do-
very
pointy
top.
thing, it keeps rain
Shelter.
and like elements from coming in.
The house topper.
The house topper. There you go. Oh my God, it's been a long day already.
Oh my God.
Whew, okay. But I think that that's awesome. I think if you're the person that owns it, that can be really hard to maintain.
Totally.
But at the same time, it's like being able to walk back in time to go into these places where things are historically,
I mean, that was one
accurate.
of the coolest things about New Orleans in general is how much everything is so original still.
Mhm,
Like,
yeah.
it's just wild that, I mean, our hotel was a great example. Our freaking, every time we walked on a balcony, I was like, are we going to fucking fall to the ground because this has been here for like a billion years?
That balcony was awesome though, and how
Yeah.
cool to be able to see Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
I'm glad we
from
were.
that,
I
but
am
without
glad we
down
were
there.
not directly over Bourbon Street because like 9 a.m. There are drummers
Already
out
out.
there already banging.
Okay. So after that, we went to the Creole Cookery for slow cooked red beans and rice, which was also amazing.
Those are really tasty.
Those were really good.
Turns out that was a laundry day dish.
Red beans and rice is so good.
Well, they'd usually have like a ham or something for dinner on a Saturday.
Yep.
Or a Sunday, I guess it would be. And then the next day would be laundry day for the week. So they would just take their leftover ham and then slow cook it or soak their beans with it overnight. And then when they cook their beans the next day, it would just simmer all day. And then that would be dinner because they don't have to pay attention to it.
When I worked in Charleston, we had these little old African American ladies that would come in, and they would bring us. I ate so much food when I worked at that bank branch. They would bring us sweet potato pies like you've never tasted before, and red beans and rice and collard greens. Oh my God.
I love collard greens.
These, seriously, some of the best like soul food I've ever eaten was when I worked at the bank, and it was just our customers bringing it in for us. It was great.
Okay, and then the last place that we went that was my personal favorite was Cane and Table.
Oh, right.
So, and it was my favorite not just because of what we
The
ate,
punny name.
but because of how this is my favorite. So, this was a James Beard Award nominated restaurant. Super bougie. That was the other thing. All these places were super bougie. So to pay $130 for 4 cocktails and 9 plates of food. I mean, they were like individual.
Yeah,
but
but
it was
that's
still
what
too
you would.
damn
That's
much.
what.
Yeah,
That's what you would
no.
get if you did like a 9-course meal. or
and
something like that.
gratuities to servers and bars were included. So we go and they were serving us a traditional daiquiri, which is very like Great Gatsby drink looking, like a cool glass, and it didn't taste like a sugary ass daiquiri. It was
Caribbean white rum.
fresh lime and sugar was all it was. It was like a very fresh tasting daiquiri. And they also gave us curry pork skins and these like fried plantains. And so Michael and I are sitting next to each other, and the server comes over and drops a plate of plantains on the floor, and it gets like on Michael's pants and everything. And obviously we're like, oh my God, no, like it's okay. Like it's really not a big deal.
I mean, accidents happen.
Totally.
You know?
And the girl was like, I'm so sorry. And we were like, no, seriously, like it's really not a big deal. And then they brought Michael and I a pina colada, like our own pina colada in like a plastic cup. And they were like, this is because we dropped plantains on you. We already let her go.
We're already looking for a replacement.
Yeah. And that was that tour.
Yeah. I sat next to a girl from Poland. She's here on a work visa. She was super cool. I did not catch her name, unfortunately.
I didn't either. She was here by herself and just decided one day to come to New Orleans,
Yeah, she's
and then
been
went on the
working-
tour with us.
She's been working in New York, and then she got stuck there because of COVID.
Ugh.
So when she could finally get out, she just told her work, yeah, I'm going to take Monday and Friday off and book like the first cheap ticket she could find, which happened to be New Orleans.
Oh my God.
Isn't that badass?
That's awesome.
Okay, and then the last day was we had the helicopter tour in the morning, which was so cool because it was the only way that we got to see St. Louis Cemetery #1, which is where Nick Cage has his plot. And then we also got to see um the longest overwater bridge in the country world.
Country for sure,
That
maybe
I
the world.
thought the Key West Bridge was the longest. It apparently is not.
This one's the longest without like
Hitting land.
intervening land in
Got it.
between.
Well, and I
Yeah, I
loved
totally
the picture of, I see your pilot, and he's got his little pilot thing on, and then he raised his arm, and it was like full
All
sleeve,
tattoos.
and
Yeah, I
I was
was
I
like,
know.
that
Look at
is
his hands.
badass.
I know. His name was John. He was very cool. And he was the only person on the whole trip that had ever been to Spokane. And
Oh my
he said, I actually want to move there because being a pilot there would be really
Yeah.
badass. And I was like, dude, you totally should. I know. I loved that he had a woman's face tattooed on his hand.
I was
and
trying
they're full.
to see what he had. I was
Yeah.
like, that's neat.
He
I
was
like
really
that.
cool. He also signed we got like a little thing to take home and he signed it for us, which was really cool.
Sweet.
And I was telling, apparently Oma was in a helicopter and she was in one with like 4 other people. And it was just for us. Like there was only enough room for us 2 and the pilot. So,
And obviously, you didn't tip and fall out.
and I thought I'd be freaked out because I don't like flying on airplanes, but it was not scary at
My
all.
mom
It was
said
totally
she
fine.
hated it. 'Cause you just go,
Really?
whoop. She
Yeah, I
said,
mean,
like,
it
all of a sudden
moved
you're
a
just-
lot quicker than like you
Yeah.
just go. I mean, we were only up in the air for like 12 minutes, like barely any time because they just lift up so quick. And then we also got to see the stadium, the football
The
stadium?
Superdome.
Oh,
Superdome.
yeah, they have footballs there.
And
forgot.
footballs there.
And hurricane refugees.
Yeah,
That's where they
and
put everybody,
yeah.
right? Was it
Yeah.
the Superdome?
See, I thought the Superdome got torn down, but I guess not. Because I know they had a really bad issue with mold. Because the
Oh.
part of the
Because
dome
it's
flooded. And then
Maybe
all
they-
of those
Water.
people stuffed in there. I thought it was torn down, but I guess not.
Either maybe they rebuilt or they could have just
right.
Yeah, they must have just
remodeled
cleaned it up.
certain
Yeah.
areas.
The other thing was that place that had collapsed and
The
killed a
Hard
bunch
Rock
of people.
Hotel.
That's what it was. The Hard Rock
Yeah.
Hotel that
Mm.
collapsed like while it was being built, and it took. How long did the pilot say it took to get people out?
It was a long time that they were still finding like construction workers' corpses.
So the helicopter ride was very cool though, and our pilot was cool, and I got lots of cool pictures, and it was badass. We were supposed to fly home on Saturday evening. We were supposed to have the helicopter ride in the morning, and then we had like some time to fuck around, and then we were gonna go to the airport at 4:30. Well, at like 1:00, I got a text that said your flight is canceled and you have to fly out tomorrow, and I was like, fuck. We called Southwest and they're like, well, we can't do anything. You have to go to the airport and they have to deal with it. Because I was like, so where am I going to sleep tonight? Like, we need to figure that out. And they're like, you have to go to the airport. And I was like, fuck. So we took an Uber to the airport. We got to the airport and they were like, oh, if you would have been here 20 minutes ago, we could have put you on a flight that stopped in Vegas. And we were like,
Of course.
awesome. Okay, so I wrote these down because I didn't want to forget to talk about them. One was we went to Cafe Du Monde and they had chicken salad on their menu, and I said,
Cafe
oh my
Beignet.
god, Cafe Beignet. And they had chicken salad on their menu, and I said, does your chicken salad have grapes? The girl behind the counter literally goes, grapes?
What?
And I said, do you not do that here? Because that's how we eat it at home. And she literally was like, just absolute judgment in her eyes. And I was like, okay, I see that you're very stressed out about my question. Okay, I live in Washington where apparently we are the only place.
No, the first time I ever had grapes and pecans in a chicken salad, it was a curry chicken salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned
it's
that
more
too.
of an Indian thing.
I was like, sometimes it will have like
Yeah,
pecans
actually,
or
me
craisins,
too.
and I like curry on mine.
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
She was like
She looked
horrified.
horrified. 'cause
And
this
I
has like
said-
tomatoes. And
Yeah, I said,
Right.
so
green
tell me
onion
what
in it.
you put in yours, because I put pecans and grapes. And she said, fuck no, I put green onion in mine. And I was like, now I see why you wouldn't want grapes in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But-
Grapes and
oh my
green
God.
onion, I think would be fine.
Oh, I hate onion though. But either way, I just thought it was funny. She looked at
I
me
love
like,
all
Very
onions.
funny
I
story.
was so insane. Another thing that we learned too is that you know how the streets in New Orleans are really bad? Do you know that, I guess? Because they're
They're on a swamp. Yeah, it's really pissing
It's
down.
raining.
Yeah. I'm so glad I remembered to roll up my windows before. I thought about that right before we came in. I was like, should I leave them down or roll them up
glad
a
you
little
did.
bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the streets are terrible. And as you saw, like in the video, you can't drive anywhere in the French Quarter because there's just people on the street
Everywhere.
all the time. Or fucking parades and shit.
Well, and I was thinking about you guys taking that carriage tour because obviously in Charleston there are a ton
Right.
of carriage tours. And man, fucking hated those things because you would, like when you live in a place that's a highly touristy area,
Yeah.
it's like you really start to hate tourists. And
That's
like
what they
I'd
were
be
telling
trying
us.
to, because College of Charleston is in the middle of downtown, like it is part of the city.
Yeah.
And you'd be, and I don't know if New Orleans is the same way, but Charleston, the streets are really narrow.
Yes.
Mhm.
And you would get stuck behind one of these fucking carriage
Yeah.
tours, and I'd be like, I'm going to get to class.
Well,
dude.
there
Get
was
out of the
actually
way."
someone who was following us, like laying on his horn, and
Yeah.
Vita was like,
I'm about to ruin this guy's whole
she's like,
night.
I'm about to ruin this guy's whole night.
She stopped a couple times. She'd wait for other horses to
She
go by.
did
It was
not
very
give a
funny.
fuck.
No, and they don't.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I saw is when that very small little parade was happening.
There's a car-
behind
yes,
it,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh,
They don't
man.
give a fuck.
I like if I lived there, that would just
The Jaywalkers were cool. That was the little marching band that
The
went
what?
under
Oh,
the
the
Jaywalkers.
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 That's
I
the
thought-
one that you're talking about, the small little parade. That's
Yeah,
what she's
I
talking
thought,
about.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say about the streets was there are 15 people responsible for fixing the streets in New Orleans, and they are all on
Balls.
strike.
Oh my god, that's kind of amazing.
It was a
They've been
random
on
fact
strike
that
for
I
the last
remembered. Yeah.
300 years.
I forgot this. At one point, you had the option to go to jail or to New Orleans, and the most people chose New Orleans. Do you remember
Jail.
why that was?
No, they chose jail because New Orleans
Oh,
was
sorry.
a death sentence.
That's what it was.
Because being in the middle of being on a swamp, it was
Right.
it was rife with all sorts of diseases that you don't
Uh-huh.
get in Europe, like really bad yellow fever, diphtheria was big, listeria. I mean, all of these things that
Diphtheria
will kill
was
you.
big. It was the hot disease to get at the moment.
Super popular. Yeah, so people had the option to go to jail or New Orleans, and most people chose jail.
it was French Australia. At that
They
point.
said New
Yeah.
Orleans was
My God.
literally
Makes sense.
terrible.
That's a great way to
Well, it is,
describe
and
it.
that's such a funny thing to think of too, is how Australia was a punishment,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and now it's like people are like, I'd give my left tit to go to
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
Episode. I think every time I hear Australia now, I think of you guys.
Episode. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, and then my last note that we forgot to say, the woman who there was the guy on the horse statue facing the girl's window.
Andrew Jackson.
What was the story? The
Oh.
girls.
Andrew Jackson is like one of the worst humans.
We
that
learned a
has
lot
ever
about Andrew
lived.
Yeah,
Jackson.
he'd be fun to cover.
Whoever paid for the statue to be erected.
Her last name started with a P, but she married into a shitload of money, and she's from one of the families that was largely responsible for building New Orleans shortly after it was founded, before the Spanish took it over and half of it burned down. So Jackson Square, there's a huge statue of Andrew Jackson on his horse rearing up, and he's tipping his hat.
Uh-huh.
And this lady, it's rumored that this lady and Andrew Jackson may have had a fling at one point, but Andrew Jackson, being Andrew Jackson, was super disrespectful and wouldn't tip his hat to her in life.
He wouldn't bend the knee.
He would not bend the knee.
So she erected a statue,
Yeah.
but he was doing it for eternity.
Facing her
bedroom.
window.
That's
Oh
Like
my
facing
God.
her bedroom window.
I know.
That is a badass bitch.
I
move
think even
right
our
there.
tour guide said like she was a bad bitch. We were like,
You know what? We should do a 3AC trip to Charleston because that's just another.
that would be
very-
so cool.
But Andrew Jackson's mother is actually buried on the College of Charleston campus.
Oh.
So as you would walk from you could walk all this way around campus, or there was like a shortcut with like this little, brick, whatever,
Mhm.
between two buildings. And as you walk through there, there's a headstone that says, near this spot lies the mother of Andrew Jackson. So she's
Crazy.
buried somewhere,
Crazy.
probably under one of the buildings.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing, was we got a picture of the place where Marie Laveau lived. So that was not her house, but that was like the
Space.
That
Plot,
plot
but
of land
yeah,
is
it
where her
was
house
hers.
was.
We went to a burlesque show.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the coolest things. So basically, we were in our room, we were getting a little topsy tipsy turvy, and we were like, because you can just walk downstairs. I didn't even put a bra on, and we're like, let's just go down the street and get a piece of pizza and some pickle shots or whatever.
Mhm.
It's raining super loud, and if you hear it, I'm sorry. But we went downstairs
You
and
just
there.
brought it with you back from New Orleans. 'Cause
Yeah,
it hasn't
man.
rained here in months.
Well, you're welcome because
Yeah,
it's
we
fire
needed it.
season. But burlesque show. So we went downstairs to go get some more drinks and food, and we saw that the jazz club in our hotel was open, and it hadn't been open the rest of the time. So I think this was on Friday night.
Yeah, something like that.
And so we were like, oh fuck,
Let's go there.
let's go there. We're already paying for drinks like out somewhere. Let's just go change, because I had no bra on and a crop top and like some sweatpants, and Michael had
Shorts and a t-shirt.
shorts and a t-shirt, and we
Not
were
the
like,
shorts and the t-shirt that you were wearing when you went to get ice.
No, no.
oh,
no.
that was
Not-
good.
No.
Watch the YouTube video for
Yeah.
that.
That wasn't even a t-shirt.
That was
That was
not
so
even
cool.
your t-shirt.
It
Correct.
belonged to me.
And the shorts.
And the shorts.
Because they had the nice little ruffle. at
Yeah,
the
Looked hot
bottom.
as hell.
Which actually I wouldn't have even have noticed that they were your shorts without the ruffle.
Yeah.
It was
You're
real
welcome.
cute. But you could totally pull it off,
Yeah,
man.
you
you
did
looked
well.
good.
You looked great.
So we had to go upstairs and change because everyone had like gowns on and like jackets, and we were like, oh, fuck. And the
We
only
looked
dress,
like tourist trash.
yeah, and the only dress I had brought was the one, and it's funny because it was the one Lindsay gave me that's been hanging
Yeah,
there, and I keep thinking I need
forever,
to
yeah.
put it in my closet, and I grabbed it like the morning that we left, and I was like, thank fuck I brought this, because it's just a sundress, but like it
right.
worked.
At least it was a dress.
Yeah, and Michael had a button-up shirt, and as we were walking back, we saw burlesque dancers walking in, and we were like, oh, now we have to go. I wish I could have gotten pictures, but like it was such a classy establishment that I would not have felt comfortable doing it, because
Right.
it was full,
Well,
like
yeah, you don't really.
it was very
Take
like
pictures
fancy,
with- yeah.
and no one had their phones out, and I was like, I'm not gonna be that asshole that's like, "Ugh." So we were sitting there, and the burlesque dancer comes out, and she has like her arms are feathers,
Yeah.
and remember the singer starts singing, and she goes, and now she's gonna show us her boobies.
Yeah.
And it was like part of the song, and the girl like takes her sequin bra off and like drops it at our table. I was a little disappointed we didn't get to keep it, and it was the tiniest bra I have ever seen. It would cover my left tit, like just the nipple too, not even the
Right.
whole tit. And she had little sequin pasties on, and she like
Cute.
full on, yeah. And then this other girl had tassels.
I didn't even realize it was a burlesque show going in.
Yeah.
Like I'm so fucking clueless about stuff. I was just like, oh, it's like a nice jazz show. We'll just go I'll have an old fashioned. It'll
Watch
be a
some
good
old
time.
men
And then
play some music.
well, yeah, and then next thing I know, this girl's like walking out with
titties or
wings.
I was
and-
like,
oh,
yes.
jeez.
And I was bummed out because we were only there for like 20 minutes, and then it ended, and we were like, fuck, man, that would have been so cool. It was just really cool.
I went to a Chippendale show, and it was the most uncomfortable, horrifying experience that I
I
have
don't ever
been
want to see dicks flying.
Let
in-
me
Yeah,
tell
I'd
you
rather
what,
see
well,
women
first
than
of
men.
all-
Men are too intimidating.
First of all, we went. So this happened in Myrtle, Vegas, and we went because it was my friend Stephanie's birthday. But let me tell you something: when you go to Myrtle, Vegas in November, and you go to a Chippendale show, they don't have like. I mean, they've got your winter Chippendales,
Mhm.
not your summer Chippendales.
Ah.
And I mean, like, these guys are walking around with like these fucking
Banana hammock.
banana hammocks, but like one was like an elephant, so it was the elephant
Oh,
trunk.
yeah.
And one of these guys, now, I will fully admit he was very fit, but he had to be almost 60. And I'm like, what is happening?
was
And
so
very
looking-
tan, like the two tan,
like Florida tan.
Florida tan. And then like, so Stephanie
Was
and I
there
are in
Chris
there,
Farley?
and we're both just like,
No.
this is awful, so uncomfortable. And there was a whole gaggle of like 40 plus
I
women.
love that word when you use that word.
What, gaggle?
Gaggle.
I think
Yeah,
it's so
there-
funny.
yeah. And so Stephanie and I are in the back, and at this point, we were still in our 20s, maybe our late, probably your age. And all of these women were like in their 40s,
Oh yeah.
and
It's
they
like the
were
Twilight crowd.
just, oh man.
When I saw Twilight,
These ladies were
in the
having
theater.
I mean, they are screaming and hooping and hollering.
We apparently
And,
have to
you
go
know,
now.
probably
I would
the
go
most,
just for them.
Probably they were the best part. They
Yeah.
were the only thing that made it okay, because otherwise it was so creepy in there. Like, it just did not. It was not a good vibe.
I was watching Real Housewives, and it was the season or it was the episode where they all go to the strip club, and this girl is like spread eagle, and Phaedra goes, "Girl, you are shaved up so pretty," and the girl is like, "Thank you."
Trisha and I got a lap dance from a lady named Buffy.
Oh, that's just.
I would definitely go to a female strip club again before I
I
would go to
loved
something
going
like
there.
Chippendales, because
I loved it. Thanks for sharing your story. We didn't get to go to.
Yeah.
We lived through pictures and
weren't
sadness.
invaded.
Vicariously.
Yeah, and
Well-
be sure to check out our vlog on our YouTube channel at Three's a
We'll
Crime.
put a link in the
Emily.
description.
Oh, I did want to say one more thing too. We went to that. We were on a camera at.
Oh my god.
The
That's my favorite picture. Of all the ones
Do
that
you
you
know-
took, is just Emily standing in the middle of the street in her
With her
Rocky pose.
Do you want to know why?
and Michael's
My
just standing
mom
there.
was looking at it, and I said, "I'm the one with my arms up," and it's like delayed by like 10 seconds. So I really quickly went on my phone, and I was like, "There I am," but I just screenshotted it. I called my mom, and I was like, "Look at the camera."
It was so funny to watch the YouTube of you guys, your vlog, because at the beginning you're definitely like, I'm not having it, but by the end, you guys,
You were like
first
in
last night.
charge. You were fucking ready.
I know. I said to Emily, I was like, was Michael drunk? Because you're like, thanks for following along, everybody.
It was also after the burlesque show, and you had
Oh,
your
yeah.
pickle shots, the
Oh.
pickle shots on the pizza, and you go, "Do I look good?" And I said, "Yeah," and you go, "Neat."
And you had your big ass beer.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the week, I was just tired.
So thanks, husband,
Yeah, thank you.
and
I'm starting a podcast, bitches.
yay! Tell us about it.
I'm gonna teach you about all the things you don't learn in school.
Yay.
Bad people, bad stuff, maybe some cults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and we also had been talking with you about doing it.
Kind of since the beginning of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And definitely since Watergate.
Yeah, since Watergate, right.
'cause
Yes,
we
I
were
hope you
like-
guys liked that episode.
We loved
Yeah.
it, and you're a very good storyteller.
As we
Yeah.
can tell, I'm just here for like, this is what we ate. And you're right. He's like an 1827,
Yeah.
the French kid. Yeah, I know. That's what my life is like.
So we're really excited.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people the name, or are we still?
Working title is History's a Crime 2.
History's a Crime too. TWO, yeah?
Yeah.
TWO.
Welcome to the Threesa Network, everybody.
Three's
Yay.
a Crime Network.
Nope, just
Three's a
Threesa
Crime.
I
Network.
thought it was
Family
the 3AC
Network.
family.
Network. 3AC Family
I like
Something.
Threesa Network.
Three's a network.
Yep.
That's
Oh.
actually a good idea.
Now we're Forza Network.
I know. Yeah, so...
So History's a Crime 2, Three's a Crime.
Yeah, so History's a Crime too, and it's gonna be you and someone new, me,
Maybe a rotating cast of
maybe
guests. We'll
rotating
see.
cast, definitely me.
Yep.
I don't know why you want that. I don't know why anybody.
You
wants
ask
this.
questions.
That
Like
is
really
true.
good questions.
That is true. I do that, but it's gonna be a rotating cast possibly. And do you know how often you're gonna release episodes?
Nope, not yet.
Do you want to say anything else about it?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Well,
Super
stay
vague.
tuned.
Sometime in the next month or so.
Yeah.
He's been working hard.
Yeah.
While we're recording, he's
Down
Slaving
doing
away.
his,
We're
his
doing all the
research.
background stuff so that when it launches, it launches.
Yeah.
yeah.
All
Because-
the things we didn't know.
all-
when we
yeah, all the
decided
things that
to
we
just,
did.
like start a podcast
Yeah.
on
Just
a
hop
Monday.
right
and
into a
Start
podcast.
recording on a Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I'm talking like that. See.
Oh my god.
See?
I'm gonna be a little tired. See.
See?
All right, guys, love you.
Yeah, okay. Oh wait, one more thing. We're
No,
doing.
Lindsay's like, stop.
I know. One
Shut
more, just
up.
really quick.
Both of you.
I'm just gonna say that we're doing New Orleans theme stories,
Okay.
so those are coming up too. So this
Yes.
was like our
Intro.
And after this, we're going to have New Orleans themed story. So a bunch of the stuff we talked about tonight, you'll get the full story on in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Remember who you are
And what you
and what you represent.
Love you. Love you. Bye.
Husband, say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We put out new episodes every single Wednesday, and if you're impatient like me, be sure to become a Patreon where you can get your episodes early each week. For as little as $2 a month, you not only significantly support the production of this podcast, but you'll also get ad-free episodes in addition to them being early. Go to patreon.com/threesacrime-podcast. For pictures, videos, and links related to this episode, be sure to check out our Instagram at threesacrime. And for more information, go to threesacrime.com.